This year, among other things that we're celebrating, we are going through Dogen Zenji's teachings in the Treasury of the True Dharma Eye. So, how many of you have not heard of the Treasury of the True Dharma Eye? Not heard. Okay. Shobo Genzo, it's also called. So it's a collection. Our Zen practice is really enriched by these writings of the great Zen teacher Dogen Zenji, who's the founder of Soto Zen in Japan. And then our school of Zen comes from that lineage. So for us who practice Zen, well, everybody who practices Zen knows about or is influenced by Dogen Zenji's teachings, whether they know it or not, actually. So this particular collection he worked on for his whole life and collected all of his poems, his writings, his instructions. So that's what's called the Treasury of the True Dharma Eye. And we're going to go through it because a lot of us, even people who've been practicing for a long time, have said that it would be good to have a little bit more familiarity with these teachings. Okay? And there are several translations, several important translations. Sometimes Zen people just collect a few, but they're really beautiful. Partly because Dogen Zenji taught using his words. Okay? So some of us know that one of the teaching techniques of one of the important teaching goals of Zen teachers is to try to break through our habit mind. So we have lots of habits. Right now, all of us are in the middle of our habit mind. It's where we hang out. We have our habits, and we have our habitual ways of interpreting the world. Last time I talked about some of the ways that Zen and cognitive people see this way. They see us as interpreting the world, and in many ways, our interpretations are based on our inheritance as mammals. So as mammals, we have developed ways to interpret the world, responses, and they're actually based in our life as small tribe members. So a lot of our responses to the world are based on the fact that we used to live together in little tribes. So I'll give one example from that. When we walk away from a situation wondering whether I was skillful, or maybe I hurt somebody's feelings, or maybe I didn't leave the right impression, and we sort of ruminate on that, that is does anybody do that? Yeah. Oh, you do? He's not alone. Yeah. That and a lot of other behaviors come from a time when we lived together in small little tribes, and we pretty much knew we'd be seeing those people again within like 20 minutes. So we could carry that confusion, like, did I say that correctly, or was I a little harsh, and then I'd say, oh, check it out. But I see from his behavior that he's not upset, so maybe I don't even say anything. Or I'll say, I just want to double check, how did that land with you? And he says, well, it did hurt my feelings. Oh, I'm sorry. And then it's over. But now, for a long time, we live in a society where we may not see that person for months, and so we worry about it. Or it holds over, we may never see those people again. And this is why for modern people, it's problematic to speak in public, because you're left with these kind of doubts whether you made a good impression, and you may never see those people again. Whereas in small tribal situations, even here in Native American groups, it's really easy to get up and talk in public because you know the people. If you confuse them, they're going to tell you right away. It's resolved. It's not a social problem. So a lot of our social anxiety comes from the fact we don't live in small groups anymore. Is that helpful? Mm-hmm. So a lot of our habits come from things that we just have to study because we can't change the circumstances. We can't go back to living in small tribes, although I'd love to make you just stay here and live here. All our problems would be over. Oh, you guys are wise. Yeah, there are other problems in living in small groups. So that's one of the ways of thinking about this habit mind that we carry. And these Zen masters, including Dogen, Rinzai, Matsu, famous names for me, these cause wonderful warm feelings in the heart. They really wanted to help us break through our habit mind, which, in the view of Zen, prevents us from seeing our total joyful interconnectedness. Okay. So some Zen people, you've probably heard this, many of you, use abrupt physical means to try to break that habit mind. They'll hit you. They'll grab you. They'll shake you by the collar. You know, you're going along in your little habitual interpretation of the world, and some Zen teacher will just go whack. It's useful enough just to hear about that. We don't do that here. And one of the points I want to make about wonderful Dogen Zenji is he didn't do that either, even in his time. There's no hitting, no grabbing, no making people wait on steps in the snow for 7 days. Those are famous stories too. None of that. But he used his words. And more than any other Zen teacher, he used his words to try to help us break through our habit mind. Writing many poems, Dharma talks, words. And one of the reasons these writings are so difficult is because in the course of reading it, he's trying to get you to stop your habitual mind. So you're reading along, you think this makes sense, and then suddenly this doesn't make sense. Why doesn't he write in a way that makes sense? Because what he's doing is writing in a way that tries to break your strong desire to have it make sense based on what you already know. Does that make sense? Yeah. So that's why these things are so difficult. And when you relax into it, that's why they're so helpful. You realize, oh, here I am trying to make the world meet what I already know. Some of you are writers and you have to take that into account. So you try to write in a way that plays along with people's assumptions and helps them clarify very gently. Dogen didn't bother with that. He just really tried to turn it around. So this one, the one that we're on now, and thank you, Patrick, for requesting that I make it possible to look ahead. So I posted the next 3 months of talks, and we're using, for the order, we're using this new translation from the Soto Zen Text Translation Society. So it looks nice, very accessible, right? This is volume 1 of 8. It's a beautiful book. But other translations have a different order. So I spent some of my afternoon yesterday making a little Excel spreadsheet of the order of the other translations for you, Patrick. And the rest of you can take a copy also. That way you'll get to learn, if you want to, both the Chinese, the Japanese, Sino-Japanese name of the writing and the order. So this one, because this is such an important thing, the mind itself is the Buddha. The mind itself is the Buddha. For Zen folks, for all Buddhists, there is a different understanding of mind than for Western trained people, and for most people who don't think about it too closely. If you think about it closely, you can get there all by yourself. But Dogen tries to help us get there, in case we haven't stumbled on it. What is mind? What is my mind? What is this mind I'm experiencing? For Buddhists from the time of Shakyamuni Buddha, there is no mind separate from the world. There is no mind over there, and then trees, and dogs, and other people. There is no separate mind. And so for the Enlightenment realization of Shakyamuni Buddha is that everything is the awakened mind. In Western philosophy, we can stumble over, everything has consciousness. Does everything have consciousness? That would be a question in Western philosophy. What kind of consciousness does a dog have? Do trees have consciousness? Do whales and so on does the great earth have consciousness? Dogen pushes us even beyond that. So what he's writing about is, first he's making a commentary on another koan. A koan is a little case. It's a collection, dialogues between people that need to be studied. Okay? Are you guys with me? Okay. More or less? Okay. If you go to sleep, that's fine, because it will still get into your consciousness. I've learned so much while taking naps and Dharma talks. You're less resistant. But don't fall over and fall into the person in front of you. Dogen Zenji was really interested in the teachings of other people. And he had a great collection of the Chinese stories that he liked. So he had gone to China looking for the true Dharma and found a true teacher and learned a lot, very scholarly. So this is in 1223. And collected all these stories, collected 300 of them, 300 koans. And this has a name, Shinji Shobogenzo. And all they are is koans that he collected, like a notebook that you would keep. Wow, that's a good story. That's a good story. That's a good story. 300 of them. And a lot of them involve, the great Renzai masters, but also the great Hosu school masters, the five houses, many others. Some of you know these words, so I'm just kind of skimming. He liked those people, and he liked their abrupt teaching. But as I said, he took those stories that are often quite abrupt and wrote beautiful commentaries so that the words wake you up. And then that lasts longer, doesn't it? Because we can read them now and have the same experience. But we can't have the same experience of going and calling on Renzai and asking a question, and then he says, "Oh, come closer," and then he whacks you across the face. So we're not going to have that experience. I assure you, we are not going to have that experience here. But I suppose, in certain circumstances, that would be. It certainly has lasted in the historical record, so it must have had some definitely had some effectiveness. Dogen, though, collected this one story from Master Ma, which is, a student comes to him and says, "What is the mind?" And Dogen said, "The mind itself is the Buddha." And then wrote this commentary, which is actually quite short. What Buddha after Buddha, I'm not going to read you the whole thing. What Buddha after Buddha and ancestor after ancestor have maintained without fail is just this mind itself is the Buddha. And then in other writings he says this mind is in trees, grasses, rivers, mountains, walls, tiles, and pebbles. That's also this mind itself is Buddha. What he's trying to push us beyond is grasses, trees, walls, dogs have consciousness. What he's trying to push us toward is they are Buddha. So there is no mind outside of things. There also is no Buddha outside of things. If you take Buddha as the awakened mind, awakened being, it appears as those things. So when I am sitting where Tricia is sitting and looking out the window and seeing the beautiful trees in the esplanade, what Dogen says, I am looking at Buddha. And I'm looking at Buddha mind. It takes the form of the trees. You guys are accepting that without quibble. We end up snapping back. We can't help it. We end up snapping into a sense of a separate self and a sense of the hierarchy of consciousness and awareness and so on. But Dogen, if we keep studying, this is number 5, so we have 90 to go, pushes us all the time. Tries to push us away from that snapped back to here consciousness toward, I'm looking at Buddha mind manifesting. And when you look around, you're looking at Buddha mind manifesting. Dogen really did like Zen master Matsu and collected many of his, there are quite a few, I think it's the biggest number of koans in the Shinji Shobogenzo, the 300 collection. He collected a whole lot of them. And a little later I'm going to read you one more that I want you to take with you. But before that, I want to acknowledge that we humans have spent, thousands of years trying to stay connected to the natural world. We've tried so hard. So I think we've tried as hard to stay connected as we've tried to cut that connection. It's amazing. So I want to appreciate how hard we've tried to stay in touch with the natural world and the effort we make to take care of animals because they are Buddha nature, Buddha manifesting. We try really hard. And then we also have done everything we can to isolate ourselves from that world, to create a protective cocoon for ourselves around our own interpretation. So that tension in our lives is, that tension in our lives is what Zen practice is about. It's not about trying to annihilate our separating tendencies, because that's a natural part of us. It's not about trying to force ourselves to have an enlightened awareness. It's about studying that dynamic tension and relaxing. So in some of Dogen's writings, he talks about this. Buddha doesn't necessarily notice that they are Buddha. He's saying, when we're walking around, we're not necessarily thinking about enlightenment, we're responding to the situation. And as our practice grows, we respond more wholesomely over time. Or if we don't, we go to our tribe member and say, I'm sorry, I didn't respond wholesomely. Or we fret about it, and then we understand this is a residue of my ancient ancestors' training. So one of the ways we've tried to stay in touch with animals was invented by the Jade Emperor in, let's see, how long ago would that be? About 2,300 years ago. The Jade Emperor wanted to help people keep track of time. So he said, I'm going to make an animal in charge of every year. We're going to have 12 animals in charge of the 12 years, and then we'll have a cycle of 12 years. That'll be a good way to tell time, don't you think? Don't you think? Okay. So he had a contest and said, it's my birthday today, so all of you animals try to swim across this really broad river, and the first 12 who come across will become in charge of a year. Haven't you wondered why there are 12 animals of the zodiac and why they're in the order they are? Haven't you wondered? Now you really wonder. Well, there's a reason. Can I tell you? I could go on. I could go back to something Zen. Well, the 12 animals of the zodiac are, number 1 is rat. Are there any rats in the room? Come on, they're the smartest animal. Oh, you don't know your years, probably. I have it somewhere. Well, then you'd have to confess how old you are, and that's okay. So all the animals started swimming across, and the ox is a very powerful creature and very, adept at swimming, practically a water animal. So the ox was going to jump in the water, and the rat said, I can sit on top of your head and navigate for you, so I can tell you how to get there. And the ox said, okay, it's a deal. And so the ox started swimming very powerful. And just before he got to the other side, the rat jumped off, and he was first. And the emperor said, you're so small, how did you get here first? And he said, I'm so smart. So rat and then ox. And then, who's next? Tiger. Thank you. Tiger, very strong swimmer, came swimming across. And he was next, third. She was next. And then rabbit, because rabbit bounced along on top of the heads of the other animals and got to the other side. And then, most powerful of all, dragon. But the dragon said, I'm sorry I'm late, but I saw that there was a drought on the eastern side of the country, so I went over there to bring rain, so I came a little late. So, selfless dragon, number 5. And most powerful, in charge of rain. And then three beings, the goat, the monkey, and the rooster. Goat, the monkey, and the rooster were swimming across on a log because they couldn't swim, so they paddled together. They helped each other. But just before they got there, the snake got in. So snake is number 6. And then goat, monkey, rooster. And then powerful horse.
Dog.
Not yet dog. Horse, and then dog is number... Is it dog?
It's dog and then pig.
No, that we're missing number 10.
So sheep. I think horse came earlier. It came earlier. Horse
Came earlier. Ooh, thank you. Dragon, snake, horse, goat, monkey, rooster. It is dog. Thank you, it's dog. And dog is a powerful swimmer. Did you hear that? Dog is a powerful swimmer. But dog was late because dog kept playing, kept getting distracted and playing on the way across. And then the last one is pig. And I like this because pig, very determined, wanted to do it on his or her own, swam across, no help, didn't cooperate with the others, didn't need to, wasn't the most powerful, most determined. I thought, anatomically, pigs are closest to us. Did you know? Our internal organs are very much like a pig. They're really smart, just like us. So I thought, just like us, we had to do it all on our own. Isn't that amazing? So that is, from thousands of years ago, another way to stay in touch with animals and to try to recognize our similarity with animals and their similarity with us. Although again, we project a little too much of our, we just do that. We project our understanding onto other creatures and other people in order to try to build these connections. Isn't that nice? Okay. So now, one more story. This is, again, an appreciation from Dogen Zenji of Master Ma. And I want you to think about it the next time you see ducks, wild ducks. So Master Ma was walking along with Hyakujo, a great person who became a great teacher, but at this time he's a student. And they're walking along and something catches their eye and they look up. Also, this is an example of a teacher like Master Ma is always a teacher. So they're walking along and something catches their eye and Hyakujo looks up. Master Ma says, "What is it?" And Hyakujo says, wild ducks. And Master Ma says, where have they gone? Where are they now? Where have they gone? Where have they gone? And Hyakujo says, flown away. Master Ma immediately reaches out and grabs him by the nose and twists his nose, which really hurts, and says, where are they now? Here and now. And at that, Hyakujo had a great realization. So, if you think about that story, think about it. You're walking along and your mind is caught by something. Wild ducks flying. Wild ducks. Where are they now? So, wild ducks, even like right now, they're here. Wild ducks are here, right now. So whenever I'm going out to our land and I see ducks, an abundant supply of ducks, there's this immediate connection. Immediate connection. Those ducks are Buddha mind. And there's no separation between you, your eyes, your eyeball, and those wild ducks. Do you see that? See what he's trying to do? And for Dogen Zenji, he used his words over and over and over to confuse us and befuddle us, to bring us back to here and now and the way our mind works. For me, this is a teaching that's important for us now because our minds in this world are drawn by all sorts of circumstances. And we separate really quickly into judging self and other and separating. And I just want you to think about wild ducks when that happens. Thank you very much.